Hello and welcome, this is AgentXP, and welcome back to part 2 of my author playthrough for Temple of Amun-Ra. This is my 6th TRLE, and it was created as part of the Creator Classic competition, which I ran during 2016 in order to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of Tomb Raider's release. So last time we played the first part of this level. We started off in the opening valley and we completed the valley section along with the first 2 challenge tombs. We claimed the stones of Ra and Sobek, and we used the bar cartouche to open up a new temple area, which is where we're going to continue. If you would like to play this level yourself, there will be a download link included in the description, and it's totally free to download and play. I will also include a link to part 1 of this video. So let's return to the temple area that we opened and entered using the bar cartouche last time. And we round this corner and we find ourselves in a beautiful garden area. We are then briefly shown a camera hint of a jump switch on the side of a pillar. Immediately on your left as you enter the area, there is a green slope, and we will be revisiting this a fair amount. But before we do, we're going to want to run around the room, and there are a number of urns which require our attention. Most of the urns contain items for us to collect. And if we run further into the room, on the right here we will see a gate that we have yet to open. And more importantly, there is another gate here in front of us. So behind this green slope, there is another gate that we can open. And that is where we will want to go first, because the other more obvious gate requires us to have collected all 4 of the challenge tomb artifacts. So up there we can see the jump switch that was shown to us in the camera hint as we entered the area. Looking up, we will see some monkey bars and a number of trapdoors that we're going to need to close so that we can fully use the monkey bars. So let's revisit that green slope which I pointed out earlier on, and we're going to need to use this a fair number of times. So if we hop up, we can walk along the slope, follow a short trail, and then we can walk on this green ledge. Now from here we're going to need to do a slightly angled jump to grab this pillar, and the tops of all of these pillars are ladders, and we can climb around the corner on each ladder, and we can use these ladders in order to ledge jump between the pillars. From roughly halfway up each pillar, we're going to want to do a jump and roll in order to grab the next pillar. And from this pillar, if we do the same thing, we can grab a crack in the ledge behind us. So if we shimmy around the corner from this crack, we can enter an area where we can see some glowing golden caskets. Next we want to pull the switch that is on the wall, and when we do this we will not get a camera hint and no sound plays, and this is an indication that this is a switch which opens a secret, as none of the switches which open secrets in this level have camera hints. So if we climb back to this ledge and turn our attention upwards, we can jump and grab the monkey bars above us. This is one of 2 ways that we can reach the first jump switch which we need to pull in this area. This is the same switch that we saw in the camera hint when we first entered the room. If we go forward on the monkey bars, we can see that there is a trapdoor which is open, and this is stopping us from proceeding any further along the monkey bars. So what we're going to want to do is drop onto this ladder, do a backflip and roll in midair in order to grab the pillar behind us, and we can now shimmy around the pillar and we can pull the first jump switch. Drop to the ground and we will see the trapdoor close. Also, the Temple of Osiris music starts to play once more, and we can now return to the green slope, and we can now also proceed further along the monkey bars. So we've activated the first of several jump switches which we will find in this area. The first is the one we just pulled. There is also another directly above the door from which we entered the area, and there is another on the back of a pillar opposite the entry door. So both of the other jump switches are near the entrance door. So we're going to need to pillar hop and grab the crack in the wall behind us once again. And for this, as I said, you want to be roughly in the middle of the pillar, and you really do have to find the sweet spot for Lara to grab that crack. Also, when you're grabbing the monkey bars, be sure to do a standing jump and grab. If you try grabbing the bars with a forward jump and grab, then Lara will refuse to grab the bars and simply fall to the floor, and you will either lose a lot of health doing this or you will probably die. So we're proceeding across the closed trapdoor, and ahead of us you can see a switch. So we're going to want to drop off the bars and pull that switch, and fear not, we will be able to jump from that ledge back to the monkey bars, so we won't have to go all the way back to the green slope once we've pulled the switch. The purpose of this switch is to open one of the large side doors that we saw as we entered this area. However, currently this is somewhat of a red herring, as we currently don't have all 4 of the challenge artifacts that we need for that area. So we're going to want to ignore that for the time being, and we can hop back onto the monkey bars, and we can now proceed further along. And the next thing we're going to want to do is to pull the second of the 2 jump switches. In total, we're going to need to use the monkey bars 3 times, once for each of the 3 jump switches. However, for the third and final switch, there is a shortcut that we can use in order to save a bit of time. I'll show you that here shortly. First, we're going to want to do a run, jump and grab in order to grab this pillar, and we can then shimmy around the corner and do another backwards jump and roll in the air in order to grab the opposite pillar. And on the right there is a secret. It's a hidden alcove on the wall behind the greenery, and we're going to get to that when we're doing the final switch. So first we're going to want to shimmy around this pillar, and this will allow us to pull the second of the 2 jump switches. Now this switch is going to activate a shortcut for us, and we can use this when we're pulling the third switch. So not only does the next trapdoor on the monkey swing close, but another one in the middle of the room also shuts. This provides a shortcut back to this side of the monkey bars. But before we investigate that, we're going to want to dive into the water in order to find out what that secret switch in the golden casket alcove opened. So if we swim down this corridor, we will see one of our favourite traps, and we need to time ourselves very carefully in order to get through it. And if we swim up, there is a switch in this alcove, and this opens another secret. So it's a secret within a secret, and we're going to want to be pretty snappy if we want to claim the ammo in here. Quite often it takes me 2 trips in order to collect all the pickups in this area, as it takes a little bit of time to get through this trap. If you try rushing through, it is likely to end badly. So what I tend to do is leave the pickups in the alcoves nearest the entrance for last. That way, if you're a bit short on breath, you can swim back out and get air. But it's well worth returning for them because both of the pickups are Uzi ammo. I'm quite fond of this whole concept of having a secret within a secret, and this is something I revisited when I created my Back to Basics level, Starlantis. For that, you had to collect all the secrets in the level in order to find a final mega secret. As we climb out of the water, we can look to the left and we see that that door is now open, as I mentioned earlier, but we don't want to go through there yet. We're going to want to hop back to the green slope. If we are shrewd, this will be the final time that we will need to use the monkey bars, and we can use the shortcut trapdoor to cross the middle of the room and reach the last jump switch a little quicker. This time around, we can also grab the secret that we opened by pulling the underwater switch. So, you know the drill by now. We need to backflip across these pillars in order to grab the ledge crack, and from there we can grab the monkey bars. As we repeat these steps, I'll take a moment to talk about this area. So this is one of my favourite areas in the level, and this is not least due to the fact that it's a garden area. And if you know my building style, you know that I tend to like my gardens, and I really love the greenery and the water pools in this area, and this level is partly inspired by another level called the Lost Lunar Complex. This is another classic Egyptian TRLE created by the Eye of Isis, and I would 100% recommend checking that out on TRLE.net. And this room in particular was inspired by that level. So you saw there that we took a shortcut across the middle of the room, and if we're now very careful and we use the very corner of this tile, we should be able to shimmy into the secret area. And sometimes it takes more than one try, but with a little persuasion, Lara will enter this area, and once we're inside we can drop off the monkey bars and claim the goodies. Shoot the urn and grab the grenade gun super ammo and a large medkit, and we're going to want to do another standing jump and grab in order to return to the monkey bars, and make sure you use the far right side of the tile in order to exit the area and return to the monkey bars outside. Now we can cross the trapdoor that we closed using the second jump lever. We can now make our way around the monkey swing back towards the entrance door, and this is where we will find the third and final jump switch in this room. It's nestled amongst some greenery just above the entrance area, and we can just about see it from here. There it is. So shimmy towards it, and then we can drop and grab and pull it. And we will lose a small amount of health when we drop to the floor, but it's fairly negligible. So we now want to visit the door that switch opened. This to the right is the area where we need the final artifacts, and in the opposite side of the room is the area that we want to go next. So jump over the green slope, and we now enter a new area, and it's in this area that we will find the next two challenge tombs. This room is based on a similar room from Tomb Raider 1, the Obelisk of Kharmoon, and we'll see there are a number of pillars around the edge of the room, and all of these have a push block at the base that we can move, and each of these will reveal something different. Behind this first block is the first of the two challenge tombs that we're looking for. But before we investigate, we're going to move out all the other blocks in the room. It's worth being cautious as you move each of the blocks, as behind some of them there are enemies. But we're okay with this one. This one has a switch which opens up another area which is also hidden behind a block. So we're going to move out this block next, and I'm pretty sure that this one is okay. Yep, this one's fine. This one has a medkit behind it. So it's this final block which has a nasty surprise, but we're going to move it anyway so that we can see what's behind it. I particularly love the small pool in the centre of this room. As I was saying earlier, I'm very fond of my gardens, and I just love that little pond. So, as we move this block, we're going to want to have our shotgun at the ready. As soon as Lara lets go of the block, draw your weapon and shoot the jackal that is waiting for us in the alcove. Bit of a trolly surprise there if you bother to pull out all the blocks. But surprises are what tombs are all about. So if we come over to this corner of the room, there are more blocks that we can move, and we're going to want to push this one inwards, which reveals a large medkit. And we're going to want to make sure you push the block in that direction, because that then allows us to pull out this block. And this block is particularly important as it reveals the fourth and final challenge area. But we can see here that the door is shut and there is no star receptacle next to that door, and that is because the star receptacle is concealed behind another of the blocks in this room. Make sure to have your weapon drawn as you pull out this block, as this is the second of the 2 troll blocks. So this one reveals another jackal. So pull out the final block, and this reveals another area. We open this area using the switch behind an earlier block. And make sure you have your pistols drawn here, as this area is full of scorpions. Now this is another of the areas that was particularly inspired by the Lost Lunar Complex. And if we investigate all the little cubby holes, none of them contain anything except for that first one that we entered, as that one features the star receptacle. So let's place the final Star of Orion into position, and that opens the door to the challenge tomb outside. But we're going to leave that area until last. First, we're going to visit the other challenge tomb that we discovered behind the first block. One of the things I especially like about this level is the fact you can do it in pretty much any order, so you can even do the challenge tombs in this area before doing the ones in the valley. It's ultimately up to the player. So swim ahead into this room, and in this area there are a lot of pickups under the water, but we're going to want to be careful. As we see there, a crocodile will be hot on our heels as soon as we enter the room. So pull out and take a look around. This is another strong contender for my favourite part of the level. As the nostalgic music plays, you might recognise this area. It's inspired by the city of Carmoon and the obelisk of Carmoon from Tomb Raider 1, as both levels featured similar rooms. We may as well make use of a more powerful gun to dispatch the crocodiles, as there is plenty of ammo hidden around this room. I am especially fond of the waterfalls and the mist in this area. I absolutely love the colours in here. Now that we've safely dispatched the crocodiles, we're going to want to make our way around the room and collect all the pickups. On our left we see an underwater switch, but be careful when you pull it, as it will summon another crocodile. As well as that, a door opens above, so we're going to want to check that out here in a minute. Grab the ammo, but I think, oh yep, there he is, another crocodile. So let's climb out and dispatch him with a powerful weapon. Now where is he hiding? We may need to hop around a bit in order to get a better aim. Once we have safely dispatched the crocodile, we're going to want to investigate the area behind these pillars. And at this end there is a small medkit that we can collect, and if we run along behind the pillars we will discover another hidden switch. Now this switch raises one of the trap doors in the main area, and this is going to allow us to complete a puzzle. But as you can see there are 2 trap doors, so we're going to need to find the switch to activate the second one. First though, I think there may be some more pickups for us to collect. There's a small medkit, and I'm pretty sure there is some more ammo, yes. There's some Desert Eagle ammo, and there are some more Uzi clips somewhere as well. I really liked this area from Tomb Raider 1 with all the nooks and crannies underwater and lots of hidden items to find. Let's climb out. I think there's just one more pickup in this area. Just some Uzi clips. Yeah, I saw it just as I rolled there. Let's go and grab those. And then we can turn our attention to the upper area. Oh wow, that's interesting. I've not seen that happen before, where Lara just glitches through a block like that. There we go. Grab the ammo, and now we can climb out. And next we're going to want to look up. So if we look at the wall opposite, there is a slightly higher ledge. At each end of this ledge, there is a higher block. These allow us to gain some extra height, and from here we can run, jump and grab the pillars in the centre of the room. As we traverse the ledges, we will see a skelly wake up on the central platform, and we now need to draw the shotgun, and if we're careful we can blast him off the ledge. Oh no, he's put his shield up. We need to take evasive action, run across the ledge, get him to jump after us, and boom, there we go. Now we are safe to investigate these ledges, and if we look closely, there is the alcove that we opened with an earlier switch. So next we're going to want to move this block in such a way that allows us to reach that alcove. We're going to want to pull the block out by several tiles, and then we can get the other side of it and move it to the end of the ledge. As I mentioned, those of you who have played Tomb Raider 1 City of Carmoon might recognise this puzzle, as that level featured something a little similar to this. Now we get a nice view of the waterfalls on the other side of the room. I really love that feature. As you may have also noticed, I love my water, so that is something I like to feature a lot in my levels. So pull up into the alcove, and we can now use this switch, and this raises the second of the two trapdoors, and this allows us to move the block further along the ledge, and you will see why we need to do this here in a second. This room remains to this day one of my favourite examples of coloured lighting that I've created. So I love to use coloured lighting in order to bring out the colours in the textures, and I've done that here a lot in this room. I'm a big fan of the contrast between the golden Egyptian hieroglyphs and the turquoise of the water. I think those two colours contrast and complement each other extremely well. Pulling up onto the block, we can now jump and grab these handholds on the end of the ledge, and this will allow us to climb to the top of the golden ledge. Here we will find another push block. We need to pull this out twice. If we look to the wall on our right, once we finish moving the block, we will see that there is another switch, and at the moment Lara can't reach it because it's too high on the wall. So we're going to want to save and jump to this walkway, and as soon as we do, draw a weapon of your choice and dispatch the jackals that emerge from the alcove. And there is also, to make matters worse, a skelly rushing at us from the opposite direction. So you know the drill, we need to blast him off the edge of the ledge. As the dramatic music plays, we can run into this alcove and find another switch, and this will raise a trap door the other side of the block. And the reason we wanted to move the block before using the switch is because the switch is timed. So we will have just enough time to jump behind this block and move it one square forward before the trapdoor opens again. We can now use this switch, and that will open the door at the other end of the higher golden walkway. So run through the door at the end, and we're going to want to save our game before entering this area. As you can see, we have some serious fun in store. So I'll run forward through the first set of blades, and to make matters worse, there is also a flame trap here. So we're going to want to time our way through the flame trap, and there is a knack to getting through this area, trust me, even though I messed this up somewhat. So what we're going to want to do is, when the flame goes out, drop into the pit and hop backwards so that you'll have your back to the wall, and then we can look up and time our way through the blades. I failed rather miserably there, so if we wait for the flame once again. Once the flame goes out, we're going to want to drop into the pit and hop backwards straight away. Look up and we can then jump through the blades. If you time this just right, as you can see there, you can get through without taking any damage. Once we are safely through that trap, we can push the block at the end of the corridor forward. As soon as you do, be sure to draw a weapon and hop forward into the room. As soon as you enter, be prepared to deal with a pack of jackals that wait for you inside. If we survey this room, we can see more of the blades. Each one of these guards an alcove containing a switch, and we want to be able to reach these. In order to do so, we're going to want to move this block, and this will allow us to hop up into the alcoves. And once again, it's a matter of timing. The best tactic is to do a forward standing jump from the edge of the block into the alcove. If you time your jump just as the blade closes, I find that's usually the best solution. Getting out is equally as perilous, but if you roll just as the blade opens, then you can usually get out without taking any damage. And now we can move the push block once again in order to allow us access to the second of the two alcoves, which is on the wall behind us. The music ambience track that is playing in this area is taken from Tomb Raider Anniversary. It's one of the Egyptian tomb ambience tracks, and I think it suits this level pretty well. So continue to move the block into position, and we're almost there. Now we should be able to climb on top of the block and hop into this alcove. And once again, this one has a blade. And if we're very careful, we can do a running jump into this alcove. There's no need to push the block right up against the wall. Once inside, we can pull the switch and exit the area. I'm surprised we didn't take any damage there. That was fortunate. Right. We can now turn our attention to the final alcove, but this is the easiest of the three as it doesn't have a blade guarding it. So we can throw the switch and survey the pot in the middle of the room. But there is one final switch, and this is not within an alcove. It's in fact behind this pushable block. So let's move the block out and run behind it, and then we can pull the final switch. The switch activates fire columns in the centre of the room, and it also lowers a block in the opposite corner. So if we make our way over to that block, we will find a final switch. Pull that and boom, we will get many explosions, and occasionally Lara will take a small amount of damage, and we may also take damage from the pesky jackal that sneaks up on us. He was obviously woken up by the explosions. So once we have dealt with the jackal, we can make our way back up into the alcove. The reason for doing this is that we need to pull one of the switches again. It doesn't matter which one, I simply picked one of the easier options. And by pulling one of the switches again, we turn off most of the fire. We now need to climb to the central pillar and carefully time ourselves with the remaining flame in order to collect the artifact for this challenge tomb. Be very careful to wait for the flame to go through a cycle before picking up the Stone of Osiris, as if we try and claim the stone while the flame is active, Lara will get set on fire. Aha! If we now hop up the blocks at the side of the room, we can find an exit path. This leads to a handy trapdoor which will allow us to drop back into the water at the start of this challenge tomb. On a side note, I have seen at least one person try to grab the Stone of Osiris without turning off the flames, and this is possible as you have an exit path that leads to water, but it must be stressed that this is not the intended solution. You are able to turn off the fire, you simply have to break the circuit by pulling one of the 4 levers a second time. So, save our game, and we can now enter the final challenge tomb of the level. And as we walk into this very high area, we can look up and see that there is a massive space within this room to investigate. And we will be greeted with a more nostalgic music. So the first order of business is to hop down to the floor level in this room. As we greet the winking sphinx at the bottom of the room, we're going to want to draw a weapon because there is a welcoming party in the form of some crocodiles. I tend to find the shotgun is quite an effective weapon against crocodiles, so we're going to use that to dispatch them. And once we have, we can run down into the corner to the right of the Sphinx, and if you look carefully, there are a number of movable blocks in this area, and we're going to want to move the outer one first, and this is by far the most obvious of the two, and we're going to want to move it forward a couple of tiles, and then there is something quite special that we could do with it, and you may have guessed this already. So if we move this box on top of that grate, we will flood the area. The observant among you may have noticed that there is a switch on the wall, which is in fact an underwater switch, and flooding the area will allow us to use this switch. So we're going to want to move the box into position, but before we move it for the final time, we're going to want to stop. And this is because there is another movable box that we can pull, and once we flood the area we will no longer be able to do this. And if you're wondering, oh no, can I get stuck by not doing this? The answer is no, because this box reveals a switch which opens a secret higher up in the room. So this is purely optional, but you can only do this before the room is flooded. So if you're too quick to flood the room, you lose the opportunity to get the secret. And there is another crocodile which emerges when you pull that switch. So now we can finally move the box into position. So push it forward once more and we're greeted by some more music and a nice flyby which shows the area flooding. So now we can use the underwater lever switch. This will open a door higher up in the room. Once we regain control of Lara, we're going to want to return to the upper level and climb back up to the ledge where we first entered the area. We can do this by using these blocks. As we return to the upper ledge, we can see that as well as opening a door, the switch we just pulled raised a block, and this will allow us to access a shimmy crack in the wall. Make sure you stand at the far right hand side of the block, as the right hand side of the shimmy crack is lower than the left hand side. We can now use the crack to traverse the wall and pull up on this ledge. So as we look down behind us, we will see two golden pillars, and the left hand one is not as harmless as it may seem. So if we save our game and jump to the block, we may get a bit of a fright. As Lara lands on the block, she is turned to gold, and this is a combination of the Tomb Raider 1 Midas trap combined with the Tomb Raider 4 Cleopatra's Palace Gold Lara trap. So while this trap is nostalgic, it's better to avoid that pillar. However, if we look closely at the second pillar, we will see the artifact for this challenge tomb, and as we pick it up, we are greeted by a golden double of Lara, similar to the one in Cleopatra's Palace. As the camera pans round, we are shown that now the golden statue has appeared, one of the hieroglyphs in the middle of the wall has changed to show Lara. Kind of cool, I thought. It's a bit of an Easter egg. As soon as we regain control of Lara, we're going to want to take a powerful gun and dispatch the Eagle. As similar to Tomb Raider 4, the Eagle will shoot our golden double, and if it does, we will also take damage. And the reason I hop off the block is because sometimes Lara won't shoot the Eagle properly through the golden swirling energy beam, so make sure you are outside of that when you try and shoot the Eagle. Having safely dispatched the Eagle, we want to return to the upper ledge, and from here we can find a path to access the higher level of the room. Hop past the hieroglyph of Lara, and I believe that was a feature in Tomb Raider 1 Gold, so that's where the texture comes from. And here we see another pesky golden eagle, so once again use a powerful weapon to dispatch him. And if we look around the room, we can see that there is another shimmy crack. So hop up and grab it, and we're going to want to shimmy left around the room. And thank goodness we're using the faster shimmy animation here. This is a custom animation. It's much faster than Lara's default Tomb Raider 4 shimmy. If we were using that, we'd be here all day. So shimmy around the crack, and we can now pull up into the door that we opened with the switch at the base of the room. Almost there. And pull up. This door leads to a crawl space, so we're going to want to crawl through the gap. As we turn the corner, there'll be an area where Lara can stand up, and on the ceiling of this area there's a trap door that we need to open. As we crawl further along, we want to be very careful, as there is a flame emitter here, so be careful not to be too hasty when you're crawling forward. You're going to want to wait on this tile for the flame to go out. Once you've done this, we can crawl through this gap in the grating, and we can claim a large med kit. If you wanted to, from this area, you could drop back down into the main room, but there's really no need to do so at this point. So once we've grabbed the medkit, we're going to want to make our way back into this crawl space, and at the end there's another alcove in which we can stand up and pull a switch, and that opens the trapdoor at the other end of the crawl space. But before we go there, we want to turn right and enter this area, and we're greeted by a secret chime. Now, if you hadn't moved the box at the base of the room before flooding it, we would not have been able to access this area, and when we passed through the crawl space, the door to this area would have been shut. So shoot all the urns in the area, and we will be rewarded with some hefty goodies, which include Desert Eagle ammo. Once we have claimed our reward, we can now exit the small garden area and return to the crawl space. But as you do, don't forget to stop for the flame. If by chance you should crawl into the flame, then that gap in the grate will allow you to flip out into the water in the room below. However, you will lose an awful lot of health that way, and then you will have to climb all the way back up. So it's better to just avoid the flame. Climbing through the trapdoor that we just opened, we can see that we're now at the top of the room, and we can appreciate the colourful light beams coming through the ceiling, and hop off and grab the shimmy crack. And we're going to want to shimmy left around the room once again, and eventually we will be able to pull up on another ledge. A design feature I really enjoyed implementing in this level are the star-shaped light beams which I placed in the ceiling of this room and the other challenge tomb in this area, and they are taken from underneath the Sphinx from Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation, and I'm very fond of these, and I think they are somewhat underused in custom levels generally. So as you can see there, we hopped to a nearby ledge and claimed some more shotgun ammo. And we're now going to want to jump to the central structure of the room, and this will allow us to pull a switch. This switch shows us a welcome sight, which is the exit door opening once again. However, the exit door is nearly at the bottom of the room, and we're right at the top. So you may now be thinking, what's the best way down? Well, there's a very quick and easy solution for that. There is water at the base of the room, so save, and we can roll off the edge of this ledge quite nicely, and Lara will shriek as we drop into the water below, but she will land quite safely as long as you roll from the right spot. So now we can easily hop back up the blocks, and we are free to leave this area. We now have all 4 of the challenge tombs completed. Nice! Run back through the area with the pillars and the pond, and we can now finally visit that door that we opened on the opposite side of the main garden room. We now have all 4 stones required in this area. The stones of Ra, Sobek, Osiris and Nebu. Fun fact, this room was the very first room of the level to be built, and it was built much earlier than the rest of the level, and originally it did not feature any water, and it wasn't the location for the final puzzle holes either. I built it as a simple test room for the Egyptian textures, and I had no idea that it would eventually become part of such a big level. As you can see, we are now able to place each of the 4 stones on each side of the central obelisk, and once we have done so, this will open a door in the corner of the room. The final state of this room is yet another testament to the fact that I love using water, fountains, and gardens generally in my builds. I'd like to think of it as some eye candy and a reward for finding all the gems. So as we run into this area, we are greeted with another garden area and another fountain. Surprise, surprise. So climb up here and we can shoot this urn and pick up some shotgun ammo. We can also hop into the fountain in order to find some more ammo, and this may just come in useful here soon. So we can swim around and explore, and there is only one pickup here, so we can now climb out of this pool, and there's something we need to find in this area, and it's hidden behind some greenery in this corner, and that is another hidden switch. So pull the switch, and this lowers a block at the base of the obelisk underwater. So if we exit this room and jump back into the water, we can find out what is behind this block. Before we do, let's pick up the Uzi ammo at the base of the pool. And before I forget, there is some more Uzi ammo in this corner. Must collect all the pickups. It's very important. I want to show you where all the goodies are in this video. Right, now we can go to the base of the obelisk, and here we will find another underwater lever. So I'll pull that, and the gate in front of the obelisk will open. So I'll climb out of the pool, and before we enter that area, we're going to want to make sure we are well prepared. So make sure your health isn't too low, and draw a powerful weapon of your choice. Save the game, and we can run on inside, and we are greeted by quite a welcoming party. As the dramatic Tomb Raider anniversary battle music plays, we want to dispatch the 2 guardians, who are the same as the guardians you find at the end of Cleopatra's palaces. These dudes pack quite a punch, however if you have a powerful weapon you can dispose of them quite quickly before they cause you too much damage. And there is a little trick with those dudes: if you crouch, sometimes they will shoot over your head. If we come to this corner of the room, we can see a crack in the wall. We want to jump up and grab this, and we can follow this to an alcove. And at the far left hand side of the alcove, we were able to stand up. And this will allow us to do a standing forward jump and grab this alcove. And from there we can do a running jump and grab the broken pillar on the other side of the room. Now from here we have two choices. We can go and claim that secret that we can see on the left hand side, or we can proceed to pull a jump switch, and we're going to go for the jump switch first. If we look at that pillar on the left, we will see that there is a crack in it that we can grab. So we're going to want to pull up, and from this pillar we can do a forward jump and grab the edge, and we can shimmy round until we are able to stand up. From here we can do a forward jump and grab to grab this pillar. Pretty much all of these jumps are jump and grab type jumps. So from this pillar we're going to want to do a running jump and grab back to the opposite side of the room. So here we can grab another broken pillar, and if we shimmy around to the back of the pillar we can pull this jump lever. Now this will activate a rope in the centre of the room. In order to reach that rope, we're going to need to return to the pile of sand in the corner of the room, and once again grab the crack and shimmy to this alcove. Once we reach it, pull up, and you know the drill, we need to repeat the steps that we did just now. So do a forward jump and grab to grab this broken pillar. On the right hand side we will have space to pull up and do a running jump and grab to this pillar. And now we can do a forward jump and grab this broken pillar here. So shimmy to the left hand side edge, which will give us enough space to climb up, and then do a jump and grab this crack. So we are going to go and grab the secret before we forget. So shimmy along this crack, and here it becomes a slightly hidden crack, but there is a slight groove in the wall. Shimmy left around the corner and we are almost at the secret. Now we can pull up on this ledge and claim our reward. I like this sort of secret, which is hidden in plain sight, and the challenge is how do you get to it? So on the floor, just around the corner from the secret, we can pick up a large medkit. Now we'll need to return to the sand pile and use the shimmy crack one more time in order to traverse the pillars. We need to return to the point where we crossed the room in order to pull the jump switch, as this is where we can jump and grab the rope that was activated by the jump switch. This will allow us to swing to the ledge at the far end of the room, and here we can claim a final artifact. Now you may be wondering where on earth we use this final artifact, as we have just placed all the stones. Well, you may recall that when we were at the large pyramid in the previous video, I said we would need to return there at the end of the level, and this is the artifact that we require for that puzzle hole. So we need to swing on the rope, gain some momentum, and sail through the air, and we can comfortably land on this ledge. And we can now claim our final prize, which is the Pyramid Talisman. So as the name of the artifact would suggest, we now need to return to the Desert Pyramid. And this is located back in the valley. So we now have to backtrack to an earlier point of the level, but it's relatively easy and it means that we get to enjoy the scenery one more time before we end the level. So we're going to take the scenic route around the garden room, look at the pool one more time. I love this area so much. And once again, one of my favourite aspects of this level is the fact that you can undertake the puzzles in virtually any order. You can choose which order you want to do the challenge tombs in, and you can also choose which order you want to do things in the main valley. So it's a very open world type level, and that is what I love most about it. And that was the main premise of this level. So you had a big area to explore, which is this valley, and there are lots of nice side areas going off it. Have a look at the waterfalls once again, and be very careful hopping over the spike pit to give the spikes a wide berth, as they have a stupidly big hitbox. Land the other side, and we are back at the desert pyramid. So save the game, and we now have the momentous task of scaling this massive pyramid. There's also one final secret that we need to claim in this area. A general rule when ascending the pyramid is to look for the tiles that have sand on them, as these are slightly less sloped and Lara can stand on these. Make sure you have a powerful weapon drawn also, as there are a number of pesky sand beetles on the side of the pyramid. So when we get to this point, we need to climb up this rocky ledge, and this is the point from which we want to go for the secret. Beginning at this ledge, there is a large medkit that we can pick up, and this is technically not part of the secret. From the medkit, run jump to the ledge opposite, and then from the left-hand side, do another running jump to land on the half of the ledge that's not sloped. So save your game, and from here, do another tricky running jump to this slope and grab the edge. It's easier if you do a half tile run and jump from that ledge, as half of that ledge was sloped. So continue to shimmy to the right here. This is one of the most well-hidden secrets of the level, and only the most inquisitive of Tomb Raiders would be likely to find this. So pick up this ammo, and this is technically still not the secret. We haven't had the chime yet. So take a moment to admire the surroundings, and then we can do a running jump to this pillar. Claim the grenade ammo, and we finally get the secret chime. So and now we need to safely make our way down with our reward, and we can drop from this pillar. We'll take a small amount of damage, but that's okay. There's probably a way to get down without damage, but I'm not too bothered about that. Now we need to ascend the pyramid once again in order to place the pyramid talisman, and I'm going to show you that you can also hop to the pyramid from this side of the ledge. It's up to each player how they tackle this, as there are a number of alternative paths. Jump to the sandy tiles once again, and we can now climb a little higher, as we don't need to get the secret, and be on your lookout for another sand bug. So I'm going to save here, and I'm going to draw the revolver, and I can shoot the sand bug before he flies in our face. We can now hop to the ledge with the receptacle for the pyramid talisman, but before we place it, there are two more bits of ammo that we can get. The first is some Uzi clips on top of the ledge, and we can now hop over to this safe tile and claim some more Desert Eagle clips. But be very careful when you're hopping back, as it's very easy to hit the slope, and if you do, you will slide right to the bottom of the pyramid and need to climb all the way back up. So we can finally place the pyramid talisman in its receptacle, and we will get a camera showing that the trapdoors at the base of the pyramid are now open. We're going to want to be very careful where we slide down the pyramid, as if we drop right to the bottom of the trapdoors, Lara will fall too far and die. So we want to slide down onto one of the pillars adjacent to the door. So we can now drop down through the open trapdoors and investigate what lies inside the pyramid. There are skulls on the ceiling as we enter, and this signifies that we want to jump over that small pit. If we don't, we are going to get impaled by spikes. So I'll run on into the pyramid, down this hallway, and we will enter a large area. Now this area was inspired by the unreleased Tomb Raider Anniversary Edition. A room very similar to this is shown in the trailer for that game. So as we take a look around and wonder what lies in store, we want to have a weapon at the ready, as we have one final boss battle between us and the end of the level. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to use our grenade launcher, as we pretty much haven't yet. So equip the most powerful ammo and dispose of the two guardian dudes who greet us as we enter the room. And we made pretty short work of them. I think we may have also damaged Lara's health a bit, but it doesn't matter as we are right at the end of the level. One of the dudes will drop a serpent key, and we need to place it in the receptacle at the far end of this side of the room, and we will get a camera showing that the door on the opposite side of the room opens. So take one last look around and then exit through the open door. And we are pretty much at the end of the level. We have one more ladder between us and the final room. So we are now going to ascend this very high ladder. So this level was the Temple of Amun-Ra, and the level concludes with us entering the Tomb of Amun-Ra. So we have entered Amun-Ra's pyramid, and within the pyramid we're going to find the entrance to her tomb. And this is going to be where we will end the level. Now, someday there may be a part 2 of this level in which we explore the Tomb of Amun-Ra. So someday I may get around to building that, and we can discover the secret behind the legend of the Amun-Ra mummy. So here is the final area, and we're rewarded with another watery scene, and there's lots of treasure in the water, and it's worth just hopping in and taking a look around. There is nothing to pick up in this area. Bit more trivia, this was one of the first areas that I built. It was originally linked directly to the room in which we placed all the challenge tombstones, but I decided to move it, and I think it makes a very fitting entrance to the Tomb of Amun-Ra. So all that's left to do is to climb out of the water on this lower ledge, and we are greeted by a jade cat, and this is the entrance to the Tomb of Amun-Ra. Take a final look around and then slide down the slope to end the level. So that was a Temple of Amun-Ra, my 6th TRLE and quite possibly my longest to date. It's taken us a marathon, almost 2 hours, to play this level. And to this end I decided to split it into 2 videos. During this playthrough we found all 8 of the secrets, and I believe pretty much all the pickups also. So I hope you've enjoyed journeying with me on this mammoth adventure, and if you have, please do consider liking and subscribing, and if you do subscribe, please do hit the little notification bell so that you're notified when I upload future videos. This is Agent XP. Thank you for watching. TTFN.